Welcome back to the Accessible Art History YouTube channel. This week I'm going to highlight some amazing stories of hidden treasures. I love stories of people finding works of art in their homes that end up being lost treasures worth millions of dollars. Sadly, I don't think anything like that is lurking in my house, but it's fun to dream. So without further ado, here are 5 examples of once-in-a-lifetime finds. A few years ago, an elderly woman in France discovered that the, quote, Greek icon painting that had hung in her kitchen was actually an extremely rare Cimabue painting. Analysis showed that it was once part of a triptych that was painted around 1280. This scene depicts Christ being mocked by soldiers as a part of the Passion events. There are only 11 other known works by this artist, making it almost a 1 in a million find. Cimabue was not only a master of the late medieval, early Renaissance period, but he was the teacher of Giotto, making him an even more important figure in the history of art. In 2019, this piece sold for a record-breaking $26.6 million. In 1908, Norwegian industrialist Christian Nicolai Mustad purchased this work by Vincent van Gogh. It features a beautiful landscape at sunset with the ruins of an abbey in the background, and it was painted while the artist was living in Arles, France. Mustad hung the work in his home until a guest mocked him and said that it had to be a fake. Angered, Mustad put the work in the attic, and it was soon forgotten about. In 2009, his descendants rediscovered the work, and they submitted it for study at the Van Gogh Museum. It took 4 years, countless scientific tests, and even scouring Van Gogh's letters to his brother Theo, but in 2013, it was authenticated as a work by Vincent van Gogh himself. Throughout his career, Caravaggio painted several versions of the story of Judith beheading Holofernes. This one hangs in the Galleria Nazionale d'Arte Antica, the Palazzo Ballerini in Rome. Another version was discovered in a house in Toulouse, France in 2014. A man cleaning out a loft brought it to Baroque expert Eric Turquin, who, after careful study, declared it to be a newly discovered work of Caravaggio's. This was a bit controversial because the artist had many followers that painted in the same style. The French government banned its export from the country until it could be sold. This work was supposed to go to the auction block, but an anonymous buyer, with a close connection to a museum, offered a remarkable $170 million for it. The owners couldn't resist and accepted. This work, for most of its life, was considered to be a 19th century Victorian copy of the great Dutch master Rembrandt. It wasn't unusual for these to be used as decorations in homes. This work also wasn't in the best of shape either, making identification even harder. It was discovered by an antiques dealer who was called in by a New Jersey couple to assess objects in their house. After analysis, experts declared that it was one of the lost works of Rembrandt's 5 Senses series. It was painted when he was a teenager between 1624 and 1625. After restoration, it was sold for around $3 to $4 million. On the Antiques Roadshow, everyday people bring in their collectibles to experts and hope that they hit the jackpot. For one family in Corpus Christi, Texas, that's exactly what happened. This work by famous Mexican artist Diego Rivera is called El Albañil, and it was painted around 1904 when the artist was just 18 years old. It had been hanging in the owner's home, behind a door, for years when they decided to bring it to the show. Experts were stunned as this piece is considered to be a lost work of Rivera's. The owner stated that it had been in his family for 80 years and they had purchased it in Mexico. The expert, whose excitement was quite obvious, gave it a value of up to $1 million. That was in 2012. A few years later, the painting had increased in value up to $2.2 million. These 5 works of art were once lost, but they finally made their way back to the public eye. It's amazing to think that there could be many more hiding somewhere, just waiting for us to find.